Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and I'm reading 1 Corinthians and up to chapter 6. And here again Paul is addressing another issue within the church at Corinth, and this one concerns making use of non-religious law courts. So he begins, Tolmatis humon pragma ekon, proston heteron, krines thai epiton adikon, kai uki epiton hagion, e uk oidati hoti hoi hagioi, ton cosmon krinusin, kai en humin krinetai, ho cosmos anaxioi esti kriterion elakiston. Uk oidati hoti angelus krinumen, me tige biotica men un criteria ian echete, tus ex uth thene menus, ente ecclesia tutus cathisdeto. And I might just pause there. So, one of you, a certain one of you, ekon pragma. Now, pragma is just a very common noun. It's connected with the verb prasso, to do or make or perform. Here, it's a little bit like our English word has come into being now of issue, right, which we use in place of no one has problems anymore. We now have issues, and I think that's probably the sense of it here. A matter, a dispute. So one of you having an issue, or perhaps almost a dispute, dares krinesthai, passive, to be judged, against the another. So having an issue in regard to another person, dares to be judged. And now we get this use of epi plus the genitive here, meaning in the presence of. I was once told as a young student of Greek that epi would be the last preposition I would ever master. Well, I still haven't mastered it, and I constantly come across new and interesting uses of epi. The large Greek lexicon has several pages worth of different usages of this word. Here it seems to have the sense of before or in the presence of. So one of you having an issue with regard to someone else dares to be judged in the presence of the unrighteous. That presumably means the non-believers, and not in the presence of the saints, that is, those within the church or within the local assembly. Or do you not know that, and this is quite Pauline expression, do you not know that the saints, krinusi, you can see by the accent, this is a future from krino, it would be krin esusi, the sigma drops out and you get a contraction here, so that the saints will judge the world. Kai en humin krinatai ha cosmos, and if, now this is again is a funny instrumental use of en here, meaning by you. So if the world, the cosmos, is being judged by you, and it's a question, are you unworthy? This is alpha privative plus linking nu and then axios. So are you unworthy, almost are you incompetent, understand, to judge, kriterion elakiston. This is a superlative here, meaning the least. Now, kriterion is literally a word used for a law court, but Paul seems to be using it here in the looser sense of a lawsuit, the act of going to a law court, and so hence a lawsuit. And we get it again in verse 4, the same meaning. Of course, it's cognate with our word criterion. Uk oidati hoti angelus krinumen. do you not know that we will judge, there's that future again, you can see from the accent, we will judge angels. Meiti ge, now this is sometimes written as two words. So meiti ge biotika, this is an adjective form from bios, meaning life. And so it's something like the things of life. And the meiti ge, to say nothing of. So to say nothing of, so how much more, to say nothing of the things of life, that is everyday matters, matters that belong to everyday life. Biotica men un, now the men un is very strong, therefore, if you have biotica criteria, again he's using this word in the sense of court cases, lawsuits. So if you have lawsuits relating to everyday matters for the biotica, now the next bit is I found very difficult. In fact, there are a number of possible renderings of this. I prefer to remove the comma here and simply understand kathidzete in the sense of to place. It normally means to sit, but it can have that sense of to place, to cause someone else to sit or cause things to sit, and hence to place. And I keep the question, which some editors remove. So I would render this as, do you place these things, understand before those who are deemed as nothing in the church. So we've seen this word before. It's the uthen, it's connected with uden, nothing, and it's been turned into a verb here. So, and this is a having been made nothing. So this is a perfect passive participle here. Sorry, no, it's a present participle, I should say. It's ex utheneo, to be nothing, and here being made nothing. So those who are of no account might be a good way of rendering it. So taking it the way I do, it's something like, if you therefore have lawsuits in regard to everyday matters, are you placing them, that's the tutus, and the problem with that is, of course, tutus is not masculine and this is neuter. So if we just take this as a general term, perhaps these people, do you place these people before those who are deemed nothing in the church? The Greek is difficult and odd, and there's various interpretations. Some take the verb as remove the question mark and take this as an imperative, and they translate this as place these things which are nothing in the church, which have nothing to do with the church. We're not told where to place them. Others take it as place these things in the church before those who are of no account. In other words, settle these trivial matters within the church, or by those in the church who are not important. The various translations, I leave that to the commentaries to sort it out. The Greek is very odd here. Had this been tauta, it would have been a lot easier to make sense of it. Pros entropain hemin lego. Hutos uk eni en humin ude sophos, hos dunesatai diakrinai anameson tu adelphu autu, alla adelphos meta adelphu krinatai kai tuto epi apistone, question. Lots of rhetorical questions in Paul. Ade men, in brackets un, holos hetema, humin esti hoti Krimata ekati meth hiauton. Dia ti ukimalon adikeste. Dia ti ukimalon apostereste. Al humes adicete ke aposterete kai tuto adelphus. And I'll pause it there. So going back to verse 5, we've seen this use of we had a verb, I think, of this one, and here we're getting the abstract noun. So, to your shame, I speak these things, to your shame. It's idiomatic here. Hutos un. Now the any is probably for enesti, which is a very common shortening of that word. Any for enesti. So that would be a verb. That's our verb there. So and it's a question. So thus, is there not among you? So it's repeating the n and the n here. Is there not among you anyone who is wise? Now, Greek has double negatives, they don't cancel. So, is there no wise man among you? Hos dunatai, who is able, diakrinai, to distinguish, perhaps, or to make a judgment between. Now, the anameson is, again, a Hebraism. From the Septuagint, it's very common in the Septuagint, simply meaning between. So, is there no one among you who is wise, who is able to make a judgment between this brother, and we have to understand the other one, or you could paraphrase this, between one man and his brother. Brother, probably just in the sense of Christian brother, not family brother, not physical. But adelphos met adelphu krinatai, but a brother is judged with another brother, and all this is taking place in the presence of unbelievers. It's a question. I've seen that use of epi earlier. Ade men un, now the ade, the men un, the un's in brackets again, it's that very strong. Therefore, and the hollows here, as we've seen before, is something like totally or assuredly. So assuredly now, it is hetema. This is from a verb meaning to defeat, and so this is a word, this is an abstract noun meaning defeat or failure. So is this not now assuredly a failure for you that you have krimata? Here this seems to mean lawsuits. It's not a classical usage. Greek's got lots of words for lawsuits, but this is not one of them. This just means judgments, but probably lawsuits. Methiauton, with one another. So surely then this assuredly is a failure on your part, that you have disputes or lawsuits with one another. Dia te uki malon, why? And now these are rhetorical questions again. So dia te, on account of what thing? So why do you not rather suffer wrong, be wronged? And why do you not rather, now the aposteres there is to have something taken away, and hence to be defrauded. This is a passive. The verb is apostereo, it's an epsilon contract verb. This is the passive here. So to have something taken away, hence to be defrauded. So wouldn't it's something like, would it not be better if you just put up with being wronged? And would it not be better, why not rather be defrauded? But you, and it's very emphatic, you yourselves are doing wrong, and you yourselves are defrauding or acting fraudulently, and all of this is you're doing all of this in regard to the brothers, that is, Christian brothers. So Paul's advice is, well, it would be better just to suffer the indignity and suffer being defrauded rather than to be going off to the law courts. The ancient law courts, of course, were generally full to the brim with cases. We know from ancient Athens, we've got a lot of the court cases surviving from ancient Athens in various writers. The move towards taking legal action was as common in antiquity as it is today. Euk oidity hoti adikoi theou basilean uk kleronomesusin, question, me planaste, very common expression in Paul. Now we get one of Paul's long lists of sins and sinners here. Uti pornoi, uti eidololatrai, uti moikoi, uti malakoi, uti arsenokoites, uti kleptai, uti pleonektai, methusoi, loidoroi, uk harpages, basilean theou kleronomesusin. Kai tauta tines ete. And I'll just pause here. And now we get a question here introduced by the A, or do you not know that the adikoi, the unrighteous, kleronomesu, see this is from kleronomio, it's a future here, will not inherit the kingdom of God. Me planaste, this is an imperative from planao, cognate of course with our word planet. So do not be led astray. Planao is to wander, and this is passive here, to be caused to wander. It's almost causative. Do not be caused to wander, so do not be led astray. And we get lots of these utis. Neither pornoi, prostitutes, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, moikoi, nor, now I'm going to translate the next two words and I'll come back at the end for those interested and have a bit more to say about these two words because they're very difficult in Greek. So, nor malakoi I'm going to translate as self-indulgent, nor arsenokoites, male prostitutes, nor kleptai, nor thieves, nor pleonektai, we've seen that word in the earlier chapter. It means someone who is greedy, who's always trying to get more. Muthosoi, nor drunkards, nor those who revile. The verb is loidorio, to revile, or to speak very badly of someone, so nor revilers, nor harpages, we saw that earlier as well from harpax. This had the sense of those who extort money, so nor extorters of money, will inherit the kingdom of God. So he says it up here and then he rounds it off here. Kai tauta tines ete, and you were, so you were certain ones, understand, doing such things. You could say such things you were, certain of you were, or certain of you were, understand, doing such things, or of like character or something for the touter. Ala up lusaste, ala hegi estete, ala edikiothete, u ento onomati tu kuriou Jesu Christou, kai ento pneumati tu theou hemon. So, but you were, now the word here is ap lusaste, it's from apo luo with an omicron upsilon. Luo is to wash. This is passive here. This is middle here. You were, in the middle it has the sense of bathed. So perhaps you were cleansed and you, this is passive here, and you were sanctified, you were made holy, and you were justified from dikaio. These are all second person plurals. In the name of the Lord Jesus the Messiah, and in the Spirit of our God. Now, I don't normally give much commentary on these things, but I did want to say a few things about the translations of malakoi and arsenokoites. So if you're not interested in that, you can end the video at this point. These words, the actual Greek of these, I've translated the first one as self-indulgent and the second one as male prostitute. So in classical Greek, malakos is generally used as an adjective meaning soft, and that's the most common usage of the word. It can, although rarely, have the sense of effeminate when applied to men. It also has the sense of sensual or pampered or luxuriant, etc. Now, I've read a reasonable amount of Greek. I've not come across this very common word in earlier Greek with any specific sexual reference. There may be some. I've not come across such a one. The word does occur elsewhere in the New Testament in respect of bodily weakness. Aristotle in Nicomachean Ethics, Book 7, Section 7, uses the word in relation to the inability of a man to put up with pain. That he's just too weak or too soft, not manly enough to put up with pain. Greek does have the terms erastes kai eromenos to describe the lover and the beloved, but these terms are nowhere used in the New Testament. Several translations render malakoi as the effeminate. Now, I simply point out that the connection between effeminacy and same-sex attraction is anachronistic. After all, the hero Paris was portrayed in Homer as effeminate, yet he was the lover of Helen. Conversely, Xenophon portrays King Agesilaus and others in his writings as a strong warrior, and yet also same-sex attracted. The word arsenokoites is extremely rare. So malakos is extremely common. Arsenokoites, it's a first declension masculine noun, is extremely rare. Possibly, and I think probably, male prostitute. The word is repeated, which is the way I've translated it. It is repeated in 1 Timothy 1:10. The word occurs in Philo, referring specifically to temple prostitution. And Paul may have had either this in mind, or perhaps the various brothels in in Corinth, I should say. Now, the noun itself is a first declension noun, a class of nouns which is often used for professions, such as nautes, a sailor, stratiotes, a soldier, cretes, a judge, tamias, a steward, etc., although I grant there are many exceptions to this general principle. Hence, it is literally from the roots arsen, which is a word meaning male, and the koitai is used in the sense from the verb to sleep, koimao, so a man who sleeps with a man. However, the fact that it belongs to the first declension, which is sometimes used for professions, may indicate that it refers to male prostitution, and that was the meaning in of this very, very rare word in Philo. It is very misleading and incorrect to use the term homosexual here. This word was only coined in the 19th century and specifically refers to orientation, not sexual acts. And the whole question of same-sex relations in the ancient world is complicated and nuanced. Now, just a few more words. The fact that these terms, the terms used here are not properly understood, even now, is evidenced by the plethora of translations over the years since the King James Version. For example, the New American Bible translates boy prostitutes nor sodomites. So translating malakoi as boy prostitutes and the arsenokoites as sodomites, and adds a note saying the Greek word translated boy prostitutes may refer to catamites, that is, boys or young men who were kept for the purposes of prostitution, a practice not uncommon in the Greco-Roman world. In Greek mythology, this was the function of Ganymede, the cupbearer of the gods, whose Latin name was Catamitus. The term translated sodomites refers to adult males who indulged in homosexual practices with such boys. Very interesting comments from them. The RSV simply has sexual perverts. The English Standard Version translation has nor men who practice homosexuality, but has a footnote that says the two Greek terms translated by this phrase refer to the passive and active partners in consensual homosexual acts. Where they get that from, I've got no idea, since I can't find any evidence to back up such a rendering or comment. The former word does not, as far as I can see, appear to have specific sexual reference, but refers rather to general dissoluteness. Now, the Living Bible does the same as the above. The New Revised Standard Version has male prostitutes for the first, for malakoi, which is a very odd translation, and then men who engage in illicit sex for the second one, with no specific reference to same-sex behaviour. But it footnotes with the meaning of the Greek is uncertain for both of these words. Now, another point that I've never seen actually in writing, but the fact that the issue was not of any great import in the early church may be evidenced by the Didache, the so-called teaching of the 12 apostles, which is a work contemporary with many of the New Testament writings. And it contains, and I invite you to have a look at it, it's an interesting work. It almost got into the New Testament, but because it had no author named, it didn't get in, but it's contemporary with the New Testament writings. It contains quite a large number of lists of sins and sinners, just like as Paul does, but on steroids really, and it doesn't mention anywhere same-sex relations. It does, interestingly, include a condemnation of sex with children, which sadly does not appear in the New Testament. Now, it's clear from Romans 1 that Paul, an Orthodox Jew, disapproved of same-sex practices. Well, this is not a surprise given the antipathy he has towards Greco-Roman culture generally. It's not clear that he had any notion of sexual orientation as opposed to behaviour, which is an idea that was not explicitly defined until the 19th century. Moreover, the context in Romans is a theological one, and not specifically in connection with morality or human behaviour generally. Anyway, sorry to go on with that, but I wanted to make some comments there because it's very difficult to translate these words and to try and get the actual meaning and the nuances of these words exactly correct. And perhaps in this modern age it is important to make an attempt to do so. I'll continue with chapter 6 in the next recording.